Welcome back to Whatcha Reading Wednesdays. Thanks for tuning in and spending time with us. Today we're talking about comfort reads. Mary, what's your favorite comfort read and why?
I really like To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's always been one of my favorites. It deals with social injustice, which is kind of a big thing with me, and I like the children that are involved in the story. So that's one of my favorite comfort reads.
So my comfort read is Their Eyes Watching God by Zora, Neale Hurston. It was a great book. I enjoyed it just the love story, of course. I love romance. So I really just enjoyed that portion of it. I just enjoyed her just being an independent woman towards the end of it and just her growth as a woman. As far as other comfort reads, I think about my son and us reading books that I read as a child. So as comfort reads, which I thought was kind of nice, Brown Bear, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, things like that, Itsy Bitsy Spider, that just bring back that nostalgic feel, and it feels like coming home.
I think my favorite comfort read, because I'm reading it rereading it right now, is the Harry Potter series. Surprise, surprise. I just started Prisoner of Azkaban, the best one, yesterday. I think I just like it because it reminds me of like the first time I read the books, and then like seeing the movies. I've been watching the movies as I finish the books, and just like remembering like how like just blown away I was, and not really realizing that I would be so obsessed with it as an adult still.
I feel like I've spoken about some of my comfort reads on here before, but I left one glaring one out, which is weird because I love talking about myself and what I enjoy reading. And that is Mikhail Bugalov's The Master and Margarita. It's funny, you guys, which you don't normally think about when you think of Russian literature, but it's literally the devil, his fake German accent, and his posse showing up in 1930s Moscow to party and wreak havoc. And it's just a good time. It's funny, it's sharp, it's a little dry humor. It's everything that I love, and it's just a delight to reread over and over again.
I would say probably Harry Potter. I don't reread books that much in general, and Harry Potter is the only one that I would actively go to for comfort. I ended up downloading the audiobooks a couple years ago.
So like you and Tori, it's those fantasy series that I tend to go back to the most. So Harry Potter, The Raven Cycle, the Wayward Children series, which I believe we mentioned all those before. The worlds are so expansive that I'll catch new details every single time that I read them. And when you catch those or like put something together that you haven't before, it's just really exciting and makes me really happy.
I have to confess, I've never reread a fiction book before in my life. So I kind of took this in a totally different direction. I went with, this is actually a recipe book and devotional that I love, Savor by Shauna Niequist. It's a really good one. And kind of along the cookbook theme, Magnolia Table, you can see how many things I've tabbed. I am loving this right now. And it's good Midwestern comfort food.
When are you most likely to pick up a comfort read? Have you been choosing this type of book during the pandemic?
Sometimes I'll just get in a mood where all I want to read is things that I've read before. But most likely if I'm in a reading rut where I haven't read anything for a couple months, I'll usually reach for a reread just because I know what's going to happen. I know that I like it. And hopefully it'll get my reading mojo back.
I don't reread books very often. I used to, but now I don't. So, when I'm thinking comfort reads, I'm thinking of something that's just going to really satisfy me inside when I read it. So I don't usually reread books. So if a book isn't doing it for 100 pages, I'm just going to drop it and try something else. But yes, when I am stressed, and during this pandemic, it took me a long time to even start reading any books that I thought were good. fact, now I've been able to finish a few books, but before that it was like, read 2 pages, put it down. Read 2 pages, put it down. So yes, times of stress, I do look for something that's comforting to me.
Like you, there are some times where I just need something that I know where it's gonna go. And funnily enough, I didn't even think about them during the pandemic until we started on this topic. I was caught up in other things. But they definitely are there when like your soul needs that salve.
I usually don't reread books for comfort, but in general, I like to go for more wholesome, feel-good reads for when I need comfort. Just stuff that's kind of like, I guess, like fluffy, not like deep thinking stuff.
I don't really reread books that often either, as far as fiction books goes, unless it's like for my 4-year-old. They just love rereading books at that time. When I am feeling some type of, down or anything, like I like to go for inspirational books, the Bible, things like that, just kind of, get me back in a better feeling, a better space, a better headspace, that kind of thing.
Kind of like Audrey said, I will go for like just pick up a book that I've read a bunch before. If I'm stuck on my TBR and nothing is jumping out at me and I'm just not in the mood to start anything new, but I feel like I should be reading, because I do reread. I don't know if I would say I reread a lot of stuff. Mainly it's just Harry Potter. I've read The Outsiders a bunch just because it's one of my favorite books. I read The Hunger Games again when all the movies came out, and I'll probably reread it again soon because the prequel is out, which is exciting. Probably gonna have to try and find a copy of Twilight soon since she's given us another one later this year too. It's just, for me, I think of rereads not only as comforts, but just it's like, let's go back before this new thing comes and like get reacquainted. It's nice to, like, if you feel a little anxious sometimes like I do, it's nice to be able to read a book and just know how it's going to end, so you can kind of focus on other things going on in the book that maybe you weren't really focused on before, like side characters or like subplots. Just it's fun to explore things when you already know the outcome in the end. So
thinking back, so my daughter is 8 right now, so she's been reading like the Ramona Beezus books, and that's been, even though I don't reread books, it's kind of comforting for me to reread those with her aloud, because it all comes back to you.
Does anybody go through and read the ending before they finish the book?
I've done it.
I've done that, right.
Have you? Okay.
I
I have friends that do it. I don't do it.
Do you just mean in general or in like a book I've already read?
No, a book you haven't finished yet. You go through it, you have to read the ending before you finish it.
No.
Oh yeah, I have friends that do that all the time, and I can't stand that.
For me, it was like one of those things that I don't know if I can't tell the direction it's going. It's got too many twists and turns. And I'm a happy book ending kind of person. So if I feel like it's not going to be a happy ending, I'm not wasting my time. Like, so I will read it for a little bit. If there's an epilogue, I'm like, okay, I'll just skim through the epilogue. Oh, it sounds like, okay, all right. Now I'll go back and read the whole thing. But sometimes I do. Like, if I get like 100 pages in and it feels like this is not going to end well, then I have to skip to the back, see how it goes, and then come back to it. I totally have done that.
Yeah, no, I've done that too. I've cheated, and not at the beginning, but like halfway through when I just can't handle it, I've looked ahead. But I'm that way with, like, if I watch The Bachelor, I know who's gonna win. So I just feel like it.
I never do it, even if I'm reading something and I can tell something that that I thought was gonna happen is coming up. I'll like cover the paragraph below so my eyes don't jump to it. I do it all the time.
Because in that case, it's like if you predicted something and then it happens, and it just like it feels like a vindication. Like, oh, I know what's going on.
Oh, I was just agreeing with Audrey. I've done that where I've covered so I don't like skip ahead to see what's going to happen. It's like, oh no, what's going on?
And I always feel so stupid, because I've physically put my hand on the book. But, gotta do what you gotta do.
There you go. There you go.
For those that do reread, is it like once a year? Do you have certain books where you kind of have this pattern of what's acceptable or how often?
If it's like a new book that I read or new to me, and I really liked it. I usually read it again within the year.
Oh, I'm gonna sound like a giant dork, but I think the only like rereading ritual I have is on July 2nd, I like to reread the Declaration of Independence, but that's I know.
Oh, Erin.
Very
It's like,
patriotic. Good for you.
gosh. Back when the library used to have the
Yes.
wall of documents,
Mhm.
Kay sent me home with the Declaration because she thought it was so funny.
Sometimes I have read a book that I just really, really enjoyed, and I have like said, "Oh, it's over." And sometimes I have went back and started reading it again. Not read the whole thing, but just went back and reread part of it, just because it was so
didn't wanna
enjoyable. I
leave
really
it.
didn't want it to end.
There's one thing that I kind of forgot that I even do, but like if I read a book, like traditionally, like read the physical book and I really enjoyed it, I'll listen to the audiobook.
That's in my notes. I was going to say that.
Like,
I forgot.
yeah, like last year I read Daisy Jones and the Six, and then I saw somewhere that listening to the audiobook made it better because it's like a full cast. And so like 3 months after I finished the book, I listened to the audiobook and they were right. But like even on my Libby app right now, I have 3 audiobooks checked out of books that I've already read like as books, but I liked them. And so I was like, I wonder if I'd like the audiobook too.
Sometimes it's more of a comfort because you don't have to concentrate on the printed page. You're just listening to it. It's just seeping in so you can relax by not having to worry about reading it.
Well, that about wraps up this episode of What You Reading Wednesdays. Thanks for joining us. As always, let us know if you have specific requests or topic ideas. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Stay well, stay home, and stay curious. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That wraps this episode of What You Reading Wednesdays. Wait, no, I did that wrong. I didn't use the word up. Welcome back to What You Reading Wednesdays. Thanks for tuning in and spending time. Today we're talking about comfort reads.
Just tell us the story so we can be sure.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs, and they did some stuff. And
Yeah.
okay,
Now we're
Out of here.
He likes to sit on my keyboard.